Welcome back guys to another one of my Gotham videos and a Sofia Falcone theory. So I've already discussed a bit of Sofia Falcone in the comics on my review of the third episode of this season. I've also dedicated a video to the long Halloween arc a few weeks back. However though, I'll be running through the main points here in the most summarized fashion possible, points that I'll be basing my theory on. Now as we all know, the first half of season 4 is based on the long Halloween comic book arc in which there are plenty of antagonists. Now initially the arc presented us with Carmine Falcone as the main antagonist, with DA Harvey Dent trying everything in his power to take him down. However though, and before the first issue of the 13-issue arc comes down to its final page, there's a murder in the Falcone family on Halloween. And while this initially seems like one murder, it does not really stop over the course of the entire year to follow, with murders in the family on every single holiday. But out of all these murders, one to note here is the murder of his good son, Alberto, on New Year's Eve. Now close to the end of the arc, we come to realize Alberto never died, but instead faked his own death. But with his resurfacing, he also claims he's the holiday killer, the man responsible for all the murders in the Falcone family over the course of this entire year. Now as the story progresses as well, we get Harvey Dent going full on Two-Face. And amidst all this, and even before he becomes Two-Face, we get the feel he's been responsible as well for some of these holiday killings. But besides that as well, he actually ends up killing Carmine Falcone now that he's become the villainous version of himself. However though, and on the very last few pages of this arc, we come to find out that Gilda Dent, Harvey Dent's wife, took it upon herself to start these murders. Now all she wanted at the time was to get rid of Falcone and of her husband's obsession with him, having his caseload lightened as a result. It was sort of a different kind, comic book kind of crime of passion. All she wanted there was to have a more real life with Harvey, spend more time with him, and have a child. Now if you happen to have read that arc, you probably remember that for a moment there, we were all like, oh shit, she did it all. But then moments later, she continued to explain, in a conversation she pretty much has with herself, that she stopped her killings with Christmas. And now she was under the impression that Harvey picked up the mantle going forward from that point. However though, the truth is, the long Halloween arc is a bit tricky there. We never really come to know who killed who between New Year's Eve and the Halloween that followed. All we know here is that Alberto went to fake his death on New Year's Eve and that Harvey ended up shooting Carmine dead at the very end. But even though every single murder that happened between the two incidents never got a clear killer to its name, we're under the assumption that they're sorta split between the two of them one way or another. So that's the holiday killer for you. Now let's take a look at Sofia Falcone. Now Sofia's character was pretty big on the long Halloween. She sorta showed up on this arc around halfway through and stuck around up to the very end. And in this process, she clearly becomes second in command to her father. But what I'm really interested in here is what she becomes past the comic book long Halloween arc and how that could possibly fit on the show's corresponding arc. So basically, once Carmine Falcone was killed at the hands of Dent, Sofia took over as head of the Falcone family. And with her being hell-bent on seeking vengeance for her father's death, the comics transformed her into the Batman villain known as the Hangman. And in a couple of ways, she was actually similar to the holiday killer. For one thing, she took the lives of members of law enforcement in Gotham on holidays, just like the holiday killer did with the Falcone family. She also faked being paralyzed in order to be ruled out as a suspect. Now knowing that her brother Alberto had a few of the holiday killings to his name, her faked paralysis clearly bears a certain resemblance to his faked death. So what is it exactly that I'm thinking here? Well basically I'm thinking a couple of possibilities on season 4 of Gotham for Sofia Falcone. For starters, she could become a holiday killer or hangman of sorts now that she's back to Gotham. In this case, she would probably start killing one criminal at a time from the big Gotham pool of criminals on her way to purify Gotham of what currently ails it, and of course, her ascent to power. Now under such a scenario, she could also end up taking out any corrupt cop who aids those criminals, and possibly even any cop who stands in her way. So what I'm trying to say here is she could end up becoming some sort of a crossover character between the holiday killer and the Hangman. Should be like a mashup of Alberto Falcone and Sofia Falcone from the comics. Now there was also another theory that was posted by one of the commenters on my review of episode 3 of season 4, that being Bogdan96. Now on the third episode of the 4th season, Carmine states that he's dying. He also tells Jim that neither him nor his doctors know what his ailment is. There is also this awkward moment there when he hushes Sophia, telling her she's not ready for Gotham. Unease, unhappiness, and possibly anger towards his reaction when she suggests going back to Gotham were all over her face. Also, close to the end of the episode, she makes it clear she doesn't need the permission of anyone, not Jim's and not her father's, to go back to Gotham and do what needs to be done, which means she's in some sort of extremely rebellious phase. And Bogdan here went to pose the question of, what if the show is taking her in this different direction, where she actually happens to be poisoning her father? He goes to explain that the possibility would be a product of her clear eagerness to take over the family business and the entirety of her father's power. Now at first I liked the concept, but didn't see the reason she would do that. But if Carmine Falcone was in perfect shape, he would be at full power. And if he were to be at full power, she would have probably not managed to go back to Gotham to claim what she referred to as her birthright. But in all cases, these being two different theories does not necessarily make them mutually exclusive. She could possibly have poisoned Falcone and would still end up becoming the Holiday Killer, the Hangman, or a mix of both. I cannot wait though to find out how Penguin will deal and react with this new player in town. It is definitely going to be fun to watch, because so far this season has been really good and has a lot of potential story-wise to continue on the same route. So let me know in the comments what you thought of these two theories. Do you think one or both will end up materializing on the show? And if not, do you have any theories of your own on how Sofia Falcone's character would end up playing out over the course of Season 4? Do let me know as well if you like the content of this video by slapping it a much appreciated like, and while you're at it, you could always subscribe and enable notifications. But until I see you next time, thank you all for tuning in, and have a good one.